I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, a podcast dedicated to the shows that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel Quirky Schenk.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
Yeah! Back at it again, doing it up,
And
living our lives.
doing something different,
Yeah.
which I'm really excited about. This was actually your idea, Rachel. Wrapping up
Yes.
the last show, you suggested that we should do this.
I often have silly ideas that I announce on our show, and rarely do they come as true as this one. I am super delighted, utterly verklempt, I guess, to welcome back to the show Bevin McNally.
It's me!
Yeah!
Hi,
Welcome
Screen
back,
Beans.
Bevan.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be back.
Yeah, how's it feel to be the first one to return to the Screen Snark?
Am I the first returner?
You are the first
That's
returner.
very exciting. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I'm
Well,
honored.
Listen, we made a promise. All
did.
those episodes ago.
Many moons ago.
that we would dedicate a time to a movie, one movie that we all agreed we would talk about together. What is that movie, Matt Storm?
It is the Steven Universe movie. So there's a lot to talk
Yes,
about with this movie,
so
but
much.
I want to put up at front, and we mentioned this in the last episode when Rachel talked about Steven Universe. If you have not watched the show, please go watch the show. If you don't care about spoilers, then that's fine. Please stay with us. But if you're someone who does and who has had a vested interest in Steven Universe, especially if you are a queer person, this show is revolutionary.
Yes.
And you should absolutely go watch it and the movie first. There may or may not be illegal ways that you can find it. Not that I would ever promote that. It should only be on the up and up. But let's just say if you Google how to watch Steven Universe, there are many ways you should go do that because it's worth it.
Yeah, what I recommend is find a friend, maybe a parent or a guardian or someone who's more of an adult than you are with a cable subscription and get their login information for their cable because the movie is available on the Cartoon Network app as of this recording.
And then the other thing I do want to say is, again, if you have not seen the movie, we are going to spoil the hell out of it. We're going to talk about plot points. We're going to talk about the music. We're going to talk about everything.
Also, this movie spoils the entire show because it is a 2-year time jump from the last thing that we've seen. Every secret that you might be thinking about as someone currently watching unaware of spoilers is out in the open. So spoilers not only for the movie, but spoilers for the television show.
Yeah.
All the spoilers.
All the spoilers. This one's all spoilers all time.
Spoilers for things that aren't even Steven Universe.
That's true.
Ruined Citizen Kane for me.
Yes,
Yep.
and it ruined The Shining for me. It ruined any movie, major motion picture you've ever seen. It has spoilers for all of that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm really glad that I watched The Sixth Sense before watching the Steven Universe
Oh,
movie.
you
'cause
hadn't? That's a bummer.
That twist,
Yeah.
woof, would have just been blown right out.
M. Night Shyamalan, that's a guy who's got a future.
Okay, cool. I think we've given enough time for anyone who has not seen and do not wish to be spoiled to abandon ship. Let's get into this.
So I actually have an idea on how to start. Instead of going around and talking about the most recent thing we've seen, as that's usually the format for the show, I think it's key, because this is a communal, the Steven Universe community is really strong, is to talk about your viewing experience. And we'll all go around, starting with me, talking about how you watched this movie.
Okay, go ahead. So, Matt Storm, how did you put into your eyeballs the masterpiece that is the Steven Universe movie?
So, leading up to the movie, I had been hanging out a lot with my dear friend Hazel Tart. They are a drag performer and a badass of cosplay who've done...
And friend of the podcast, I'd say.
And friend of the podcast, absolutely. We were both talking about how neither of us has a cable subscription. We don't have a cable box, and we had no idea how we were going to watch this movie. And offhandedly, a friend of Hazel's, the incredible Anna, who was on his D&D live play at FlameCon, theirs rather, offered if we wanted to come out to New Jersey, we could watch it with her and her partner out in New Jersey. And this was super exciting, as I have a car and I'm willing to schlep out to New Jersey. And so that is in fact what we did with Hazel's friend Jeremy and Anna's partner, whose name I'm forgetting and it's killing me. We all watched it along with celebrity guest Madge the Pug, who I met for the first time. Side note, I met Anna for the first time at FlameCon, had been following her pug on Instagram for about 6 months.
Oh, that's so funny. Did you know the connection, or did you just
No
discover?
idea. No
was it just
idea
an awkward moment where
I-
she was like, "Why is my dog on your phone?"
No, actually, Anna and I were bonding during FlameCon, and she wanted to follow my podcast and follow my social media. And then I was like, "Oh, that pug on your screen is cute." And she went, "Oh yeah, her name is Madge." And I went, "Wait, the Madge the pug?" Like it was amazing.
Oh, I want to have an internet famous dog.
And so I then, of course, met Madge in person during the screening and took a selfie with her after.
Very
One of the
good.
highlights of that day. But so I watched it surrounded by a friend I've known for a little while, and then a bunch of new friends, and it was amazing. Like we snacked and ate before the movie, and then during the movie, like there was a little crunchy, but for the most part, it was like silence as we just took this thing in. And then we chatted about it for a while, and then I went home. So that was
love
my
that.
viewing experience, surrounded by mostly new friends, which I thought was actually quite appropriate, as I feel like it was a strong bonding experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Oh, I love that. If you could describe your experience with these new friends watching this movie in 3 words, how would you describe it?
Madge is best.
Madge is best. Oh, I love that.
Because at the end of the day, I'm a dog whore and love dogs. So
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I love that. We had a dog at our viewing.
did have a
We did
dog.
have a dog.
and
Yeah,
so
we
did the
kind
two
of
of you
ruined your
watched it
format.
together?
Yeah, we kind of ruined your format a little bit because we watched it together.
did. But
But you can mutually discuss then how you both
yeah,
viewed it
for
together.
sure.
We really made a day of it.
Yeah, we did.
We all came over to Rachel's lovely apartment. She was kind enough to host. There was 5 of us, 6 of us.
Hold on, it was you, Nate, John, me, Wally,
Tyler,
Liz, Austin. There was like 8 of us.
There was 8 of us.
And
So-
like 6 of them are former guests of this podcast.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I do draw from the deep well of my talented friends.
That's
for
true,
this
you do.
show.
That's true.
And also, a lovelier group of people to watch Steven Universe with there never was.
Yeah,
you know?
especially because a lot of our friendship has grown out of a weird viral spreading of the love of Steven Universe.
That is
because
very true.
It started with me saying, "Oh, hey, I think it was you were the first."
No, it was Liz.
Liz was the first. So Liz McGlone,
Friend of the pod.
the former guest, and I discussed the show, and I said, "Oh, it's really great. You'd love it. The LGBTQ plus like representation in it is just glorious." And this was early on in the run of it, definitely after the Garnet reveal. So I spent all of Liz watching this waiting for her to discover that Garnet was a fusion and to lose her mind. And from there, it infected, I believe, Bevin.
Yes. So Liz and I were working in the same office and often on the same computer at the time. So in order to like slowly inundate me with just Steven Universe, she would change the desktop of that computer to a different Steven Universe thing every time she was in the office.
Truly
Just
truly
to-
good viral marketing right there.
Yeah. So I really had no choice walking into this thing. But I think Liz probably had a very similar experience of waiting for me to hit these big reveals and then being like, "Oh, good, you're there. We can talk about it."
Did you watch it with Nate?
We did. Yeah, Nate, who is also on the pod.
Yeah. Nate. This is just going to get crazier and crazier as we do this. So Nate started with you.
Yes, because Nate is my lovely partner.
Yes. And then, of course, John Henry, former guest and my partner, had watched Steven Universe all of his own accord. So he and I came together under the agreement that we both love Steven Universe. And then I think from there,
Austin was last.
Austin was last. Liz got Tyler to
Yes.
watch, who has not been on the podcast yet.
Yet. He's going to have an album to promote soon.
Yes, soon to be guest of the podcast, Tyler Appel. And so I think she got him watching, and then we slowly got Austin into it.
And then this year we all went to Coney Island Mermaid Parade dressed as the Crystal Femmes.
Yes.
It was wonderful.
Yes, we represented those beach city babes at Coney Island as best we could. So for us, it was really like a big together moment. You know, like we've each experienced this show on our own time in our own way, and to watch this movie in my tiny little den all together. It was really lovely. I think it was a really great way to do it. I think we made food together.
We did. We had food. We did like little food and games before, and then once we had reached most of the people here, we did a screening of Change Your Mind.
Yeah.
Because I believe Austin had yet to see Change Your Mind.
No, I think he'd seen it.
Or he'd seen it. Oh, well, then we all just wanted to re-up, I guess.
Also, I was in the middle of Change Your Mind when everybody started showing up, and I was like, well, I have to finish Change Your Mind.
So we had a lovely, very, like, chatty, casual viewing of Change Your Mind because all of us had seen it before, and we were all kind of talking over it and pointing out funny things.
Yeah.
And, you know,
everybody loves Sunstone.
Yeah, in a fun way. And then as soon as we were like, okay, now we're going on to the next one, nobody talks.
Yeah. We did have a couple moments where someone made a comment, and I was the mom going, shh.
Yeah, it was very real.
Yeah, we definitely did our screening with Alamo Draft House rules, where it was like, shh, or you leave. You don't get to do this. And,
the only reactions that were allowed were like honest, shocked reactions.
Yeah.
That was it. And there was quite a few of those.
Oh, for sure. Oh, boy, I cannot wait to talk about when we screamed so loud.
I think it's the same moment for all of us, but we'll get there.
But yeah, so we did that, and the savior, the MVP of the screening of the Steven Universe movie here at Casa de Goofball was Wally, who had a Hulu Live subscription and was able to log in at the 11th hour, because if you tried to watch the Steven Universe movie on the Cartoon Network app, it was not happening. So many people were logging on to watch it, that app was just crashed.
Right.
So luckily, Wally had started a DVR, so we were able to get into it about an hour-ish.
Yeah, which wound up being like around
After-
the time we finished Change Your Mind anyway. We were behind on when it was actually happening because of things. But
it's not like we were going to live tweet it anyway.
No. Yeah. And it was more about all of us seeing it together because we were all going to talk about it with each other first.
For sure. Why pretend that we weren't going to do it any other way?
Yeah, Wally was also the hero of that screening for me because I was like lovely sandwiched between Nate and Wally, so I had just like big broad shoulders to cry into.
We pulled out the underbed of my couch and had a big like cuddle puddle.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. If I could describe this viewing in 3 words, I would say cozy, cuddly, comforting.
I would say friendly, comfy, emotional.
Ooh, yeah.
Good.
But like not bad emotional,
But
good
like,
emotional.
and then we screamed so loud.
Oh, we did.
Oh boy.
We squeed like the
Lost
fangirls we are.
our minds.
Yeah, there's a lot in this movie to cover, and I think for brevity, I mean, the plot, again, if you're listening to this and you've not watched the movie, why are you here? But the plot is essentially, it takes place 2 years after that final episode of the previous season, and time has passed, everything's peaceful, Steven is like continuing to mend the relationship of the gems and giving them a small homeworld on Earth and all of this different stuff. And then, of course, shit goes sideways, as in all great hero stories. I have to say that, for me, this movie I thought was very good. A lot of people on the internet are saying it's perfect, and I humbly disagree.
Ooh.
I think I loved it, and I think it was a great movie, but there are a few things that bothered me as a fan of film that, like, watching the movie, I didn't give a second thought to, but after rewatching it and discussing it with some folks, there are some things that stand out for me that I'm like, I wish they had handled this a little differently.
I also had one or like wouldn't trade this movie for the world because it was
Correct.
wonderful, you know. But I also had one or two things that I was like, maybe there was a different way to do that, or like maybe there was a cleverer out.
Okay, you both explain, and then I will tell you both why you're wrong. I'm very excited to do that. I won't tell you that you're wrong.
We'll just stand here in our wrongness and be wrong.
It's just and you'll just be. No, I totally understand. I think I have an idea because Matt texted me, listener, shortly after the movie, and I said essentially the same idea that he just said. And so I've actually just spent a lot of time just really thinking about this movie and the things that I think you could say. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it, Matt Storm, and see if I am right in how wrong you are.
So there are two things. So the one big one for me, as someone who loves the side characters and the characters with smaller roles in this series, that they were barely there. And like to a point, I get it because the focus is on Steven and this is Steven's story. But Lars having a line and Sadie having a song and that's about it, like that was a big bummer for me because those are huge characters who had so much story in the final season too, or not the final, but the most recent season. It just seemed kind of lopsided to not give them that much in the movie. Again, I get it, streamlining the story, the focus is on the constant rippling effect of Pink Diamond. I get all of that, but it was still a bit of a bummer. The big one for me...
I would agree with that. And I think that also... I would like to right now just put out there that they should make a Captain Lars and the Off Colors series. And
this is like a unanimous thing that people are talking about. Like it
sure.
just needs to happen.
It does because they're so good.
Yeah,
So good.
I do see like the sad side of not seeing more of Lars and Sadie and more of the Beach City citizens, but I do think that it was a wise choice to prevent overcrowding.
Of course.
In this piece. So
yeah, certainly a wise narrative choice from a like I'm a fan, give me what I want.
Yeah, also
It's a little
under
sad.
under the knowledge that they have more show to do, that this is not the end.
Right.
I look forward to expanding on what Beach City looks like now that the corrupted gems are no longer corrupted and now are citizens of this and live in little homeworld, you know, like
Yeah, for sure.
I can forgive that as a piece that kind of needed to be cut if we wanted to get the story that we needed, especially because that's sort of the way of Steven Universe as a show. Like we can go long stretches of time and not see the secondary characters. And in fact, I distinctly recall one internet comment. I think it was like a YouTube video essay that I started watching a couple minutes of and was just like, nope. Being very angry that Steven Universe spent so much time with secondary characters and not on
that's
the
baloney.
bigger overarching story. And then I was like, nope, you're wrong. And you will just be in your wrongness and I will not watch the rest of your video, person who said that. But yeah, so I do see... like in my fan heart going, ugh, man, you know, did Lars and Sadie work it out? What happened there?
Also, what are the consequences of Lars being undead?
Yeah.
Like, he is now an undead dude just living his life in Beach City. Like, there have to be some kind of character consequences for that, and I want to see them.
Yeah. Also, I want to see how he makes his ube now that he's comfortable making his ube, you know?
Now that he's it seemed to me as though he had some kind of a bakery situation happening.
Yeah.
Yes, that did seem to be the case. Like, and so like that one
cute.
for sure, like I can agree with you in the form of logic and the fact of the way the movie was written and for the flow. I totally get it. It was mostly that one was a personal gripe. The bigger issue for me was repeated story beats. And what I mean by that is the memory loss storyline. like, I get why it happened because on the grander scale of the story is Spinell, who is the new villain, who comes to Earth to reckon for what Pink Diamond did. Like, in order to have the come to Jesus moments, I don't know what else to call them, like, she had to be reset. And so in order to do that, they had to set that up as a plot device. And what better way to do that than to reset the gems? Yeah. And I'm grateful that it wasn't all of them. It was the main gems, the original gems that we started with. But my biggest issue with that is that then we are reliving plot beats and tired movie cliche tropes just to move the story forward. And it did result in some really great moments, a la one of the moments that I think we all screamed about, which we'll get to in a minute. But it just felt a little predictable to me and was a bit of a bummer, only because also making us relive the Garnet moment again after having, seen it in the previous seasons and then living the wedding, and now to undo it and relive it again, that felt kind of cheap. I feel like Amethyst and Pearl's recoveries felt more streamlined in the storytelling, but the Garnet one just felt really forced. And as someone who loves that character, loves Estelle and loves Garnet. Garnet is my favorite character. To just go through that again with no real purpose other than to restore them just fell a little empty. And again, for the plot points, I get why they did it. And I'm not a clever writer. I am no Rebecca Sugar, so I couldn't have done it better. But it is something that did stand out after the fact that I was like, oh, these moments feel a little fillery other than to guide us to the meat of the movie, which was pretty much 2/3 on. And so that was like my biggest complaint.
I do see what you're saying specifically about Garnet, because we have gotten her, coming together beat again and again. But I do think that that narrative served a kind of larger purpose outside of the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had never seen Steven Universe before and this movie was your first exposure to it, you now have a perfect encapsulation of each character and
True.
their large arcs over these huge years. So while I definitely hear you and see what you're coming from as someone who has watched the whole thing and really done the deep dive on everything, I've spent hours on watching videos over and over again and being maybe she is Pink Diamond.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. So I definitely feel the little bit of but we've seen this already. But I think that narrative was specifically for people who hadn't.
Yeah. Right. And also I'm going to lovingly explain your wrongness real quick. I don't think you're wrong. I think that amnesia is considered a cheaper trope for storytelling, for sure. But I think they took this cheap trope and did it in a not cheap way. And I'm going to also bring into comparison the Rocko's Modern Life remake TV movie that was on Netflix.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I didn't know this was a thing.
It is a thing. And I think both of them, without spoiling Rocko's Modern Life, the cartoon TV movie on Netflix that's available right now for you to watch, both of these tackle the concept of change.
Right.
And I think that the Rocko's Modern Life TV movie that's available on Netflix, and you can totally watch it right now, does it very over your head kind of way, hitting you, not over your head you don't get it, but hitting you on the head with the idea of change. And I think that in order to get to the emotional beat of Steven realizing that his superpower is change, it needs to come through seeing the changes that the gems go through in order to be the gems they are. You know, I think, and you can't really have them change without having them forget. Yeah. And I think that while the amnesia trope is very cheap, and it does make it more of the onus on Steven to figure it out, because even Steven says, well, we need Garnet. We can figure it out if Garnet's here. And Garnet being the last one to come back just makes it up to Steven to get it done. And I think that's a really great twist on a thing, and really highlights that Steven now owns himself and is a young adult who can see the day. And even though we do the Garnet story beats again, but we do them a little differently, because in this iteration it is Sapphire who saves Ruby, and I think that's something so fascinating in their story, because up to that point there was no reason for them to do that.
Right.
You know, because Sapphire had forgotten everything and Ruby had forgotten everything. But there's just something so wonderful in even though, like, the gems have been reset to quote unquote factory settings.
Yeah.
That deep love between the two of them still exists, and there's no erasing that true kind of love, if I may be so bold to say. But yeah, so while I see and I understand your point, you can sit in your wrongness, Master.
It's funny because, like, looking at the whole final act of the movie, of course, all of that stuff was necessary to get Steven to where he was. But I guess for me, the thing was, at least now that I have a wiser, I guess, appreciation for film, I noticed the, oh no, I've lost my powers, they'd only sort of work trope, and the amnesia trope were a lot starker. But you're absolutely right. When we get to the conclusion of the movie, like, all of that was necessary to get there. I agree that the story beats were necessary. I just feel like there might have been, and again, I'm not a writer, but there might have been a better way to get there while still reliving those story beats. I do agree that switching Garnet on its head and changing up how that story functioned a little bit was a great way to do that. And of course, you know, the way Pearl gets her memory back is easily I think everyone's favorite scene at this point.
I think it's pretty major and important to recognize, if we hadn't wiped the memories of the crystal gems, we wouldn't have gotten Something Is Clearly Wrong. That entire song sequence is chef's kiss perfect. That reboot sequence. My Greg Universe. Just, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was all great and a laugh out loud funny too.
So one of the most interesting parts of the Spinel after she has been wiped moments for me is you see, even when she isn't Crazy Lady, she's not quite in touch with reality.
Yes.
She's not quite, she's just, reality's like right here and she's just a little to the left.
Yeah. I mean, because even though this whatever it's called, the scythe.
Factory settings.
The factory settings. It's not enough to change the soul of a gem. Just enough to, like, make them forget. And I think that's really fascinating. Those moments of, like, ooh, we're going to have to bring her back, and it's going to break bad real hard.
Well, and all the Spinel stuff too, like from the animation side, like, as someone who grew up watching Looney Tunes and old cartoons, like, she was the embodiment of that, and that was so cool to see in modern animation. This kind of Betty Boop-esque, like, over the top, goofy, springy character in a world that kind of more or less operated in a more natural physical space.
Although I have the kind of headcanon where Spinel is as crazy and bouncy and malleable as a form as she is, because people used to complain about the fact that, like, the character drawings weren't consistent in the early seasons.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So Spinel is just like a big to that.
Yeah. Hi. Also, I do want to take a moment and just speak to that. That entire, like, oh, but the dimensions of the characters change, whatever. This is a show for children, and this is a movie for children.
Yeah.
So just to be aware, this is about a magical half alien boy for children.
Yeah, we're inviting kind discourse on this movie, but if you want to come in here and throw your adult white male BS over it, go away. Nobody cares. Yeah. Go find something else.
Because this is for you.
I think that also my favorite thing about the movie as a whole is how phenomenal the music is on a level that I already knew based on the show, but I
Yeah.
feel like it felt worthy of this kind of next step. There was a level of growth and building to a lot of these songs that were in the show, but I feel like were just a little more epic in the movie.
Oh yeah, I saw a clip of Rebecca Sugar behind the scenes, sort of like in seclusion, working on writing the music, and she has the ukulele, and she, in like one of the B-roll sections while she's talking about like writing this movie and what an undertaking it was, she sings the line, "Here we are in the future," and there was just a part of me that died a little, where I was like, oh, I don't think that's gonna, but here we are in the future. But I'm also the person who thought singing the phrase Alexander Hamilton sounded ridiculous. So,
And
you know,
look where we are
that.
now.
And I will sit in my wrongness.
You
there,
should.
Yeah.
because I was very wrong, but I didn't know. You know, I didn't know.
That is something so wonderful about Steven that I find in a lot of really like epic character driven stories, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer really has this, is they'll give those characters a moment of happiness,
Yeah.
a moment of peace, but then life moves you forward.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's such an adult realization, to be like, oh, nothing lasts,
Yeah.
really. You know, everything is going to move you forward in some kind of a way. And I thought that this movie did a really good job of facing that reality.
Yeah,
You know, there is no happily ever after.
Yeah.
There's just what's next.
It's just the work never ends.
yeah. There's
I
always
think is-
something else.
Yeah, which I think is just an important lesson to learn, because if you were a child who started watching Steven Universe at the same age that Steven was, you are a young adult now, and
Yeah.
I think I love so much that this show is willing to grow with its audience.
Also, they have to, because Zach Colson's voice is so much deeper
Oh,
now.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I also mad props to Zach Cullison for holding on to that tiny Steven Universe voice for years.
He did.
Also,
I'll drink to that.
also, I think it's very funny that there was a whole featurette as soon as the poster was released for the movie, that they did a whole featurette for like 5 or 6 minutes about Steven's neck.
It's
Like,
important.
It
Because
is
he has
important.
a neck now?
And that they had to hide it. That she had actually been drawing his neck longer than like a lot of people knew about it, because like they were working on that to like prepare for that change. It's just it's very funny. I think we should spend some time talking about, of course, clearly everyone's favorite moment, which is
Yes.
the time
Yes.
that Steven and Greg finally fused.
Yes, to make
Oh,
Steg.
Steg.
So
Steg,
so we
voiced
don't
by
have
Ted
an
Leo.
we don't have an official name, right?
No, his name's Steg.
It
No,
is
it is a-
Steg.
It's
Okay.
Steg. It's officially
I
Steg.
haven't seen that anywhere, so I wasn't sure.
It's official now. We decided it.
What's funny about that is like the trailer to a savvy fan gives that away, because Hazel told us after the fact that Hazel knew they were going to fuse just based on the brief moment in the when they're back to black.
When they're back to back,
Yeah.
it's like that
Like-
has to be a fusion.
Because it's
that
a very
has to be a fusion dance.
Yeah.
because it's also a very them moment, right? Especially getting to know Greg over all this time. Like, all Greg wants to do is do right by his son, try and understand what's going on, and be a good dad. And like that moment, we like once they're on stage together, we all knew it was coming. But I had my favorite thing about the fusions, and what essentially got me into Steven Universe, was this idea of things becoming something else that's also them. And this idea of transformation and growth. And like I was always astonished. Like I got giddy every time there was a new fusion coming, like a lot of us, because I was like, oh my God, what's it gonna be? How's it
Yeah.
gonna look? How, what's it, and like every time I'm always surprised. It's never predictable. And that's what I love about it. And like that's the thing about the Steg fusion, is that it blew me away. The song was great, the animation was great, and it was something like talking about fan service for this community. Like I'm a stan for Greg Universe. Like I love him as a character.
Yeah.
I've loved his arcs, especially being a person who doesn't always get what's going on, but always wants to try and do right by those around me. Like I can relate to that pretty hard. And for Greg at this point in the movie to be game for anything, and his only question is like, you know, your powers are fading. Are you going to be okay? Like, can you do it? Like,
Yeah.
he didn't care about what it meant for him. He didn't care about the repercussions. None of that mattered. All that mattered was the health of his son, but he also trusted his son.
Yeah.
And I just love how that moment culminates with this coiffed-haired, burly, multi-armed
Man bear.
oh my God.
Jeez.
Like I think as soon as he formed, Hazel put his hand on my leg like, oh my God. Like they needed a moment.
We screamed.
So loud.
Everyone in the room.
As soon as Steven stepped up to Greg and was like, maybe we should, and we're like, ah!
Yeah, no,
I'm pretty sure we missed some of the dialogue leading up to the fusion, but
because
yeah.
the collective gasp was
Yeah.
just like so loud.
It was just, we lost our minds. Also, I think it's very important, and I mentioned this before in a text chain with all of the friends who were present at the screening. It's important to mention that Steg's hair, his pompadour, is reminiscent of Steven and the Stevens when Steven is handsome Steven.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
That hair, that like pointy outy hair. Yeah, I just love that so much as like an aesthetic choice to be like watching the dynamic between how Greg and Steven feel about one another, you know, like that when they fuse, they become this like incredibly talented, incredibly handsome, incredibly strong creature to like such an epic degree with like that double-headed guitar. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that that's real and it exists now, and the abs.
Abs for days. And
I
lots
do.
of hair.
I would be failing as a costume person if I didn't mention the fact that they have changed the color of Steven's shirt.
Yeah, it's
And
blue
I
now.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the pink bomber with the blue undershirt. I
Oh.
think it looks great.
I need that bomber.
I do too.
Cartoon Network, take all my money. Build that bomber so I can buy it and wear it. It's fall now. Let's do it.
Oh, you don't need Cartoon Network for that. I'll find you that pink bomber. Don't worry.
Find me a pink bomber.
Oh,
As someone who only recently bought a Steven shirt, though, I'm a little sad because I would have rathered the blue one and the bomber
Yeah.
over.
You can do both. Why not?
Of course. No, of course.
or you could buy a
just-
blue bomber.
I could buy a blue bomber.
Just go color reverse.
That's true. I could
And then
do
just say,
color
this is
reverse.
my headcanon of what he was wearing while he was liberating all of Jim Kind.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go.
And then he was just like, no, I really love the bomber. But
I like the extra pockets.
all the shirts that my dad had from whenever he was on tour, they've been washed too many times and they don't really fit anymore.
I mean, there is a line in one of the earlier seasons where I think Connie asks Steven about his clothes and he goes, I don't know where my clothes come from.
Yeah. But there is a tiny shot for a second in the episode where Greg and Rose meet for the first time. In the van, there's a whole bunch of those pink shirts with the yellow star. They were merch.
I never saw that.
They were
Oh,
Greg's
wow.
merch.
Oh, wow.
Steven is wearing Greg's merch.
I love that.
That makes a lot of
it's pretty
sense.
amazing.
How much money did they have to spend to recreate the merch in blue?
Oh, my
Or no, he's just moving up. The pinks were like a size small, and now he's
Yeah.
moving up to the blues, which are a
Which are
size
size
large.
yeah.
Or medium.
And then the Mr.
Exactly.
Universe ones are in extra large.
Or the extra large.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I also love so much when it comes to fusions that it is not, although Garnet is a personification of a romantic relationship as a fusion, I love so much that there are so many different levels that fusion work, you know, as long as the 2 or 3 or 7 fluorite parties can all like live with trust and care and respect for one another, then the fusion is possible. I think that's so great to see that validation of all kinds of love, be it familial love or friendly love or romantic love.
Yeah, I mean, the requirement is love, but it doesn't even have to be kindness. Remember, Lapis's fusion was not a healthy one. And so, like, the requirement is love, be it functional and healthy or otherwise. And that's a really interesting thing to see in this series, is that the requirement is a level of affection beyond what's, I guess, considered a baseline.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the only requirement. And then in syncness, whether it's, again, healthy or not. But I do love every time the show reinforces the good kind, especially friendship ones. Because, like, if you think about Stevani originally was because of how much they cared about each other as friends. Like,
Yeah.
there was no romantic, like, there was puppy love maybe, but beyond that, like, that fusion was mostly about being in sync and just understanding each other.
Yeah.
And friendship. And, like, I love that. And I love that it often comes back to that.
For sure. Yeah, just using fusion as a lens to discuss relationships,
Yes.
be them any kind. I'm very much there for that. And also, like, I love that parental love got the bump through Steg, you know, because while, yes, Steven fused with Pearl and Garnet and Amethyst in ways
And just became Taco from
and just
Adventure
became
Time.
Taco for just a hot second. Amazing. So good. Also, props to Hazel Tart's Rainbow Quartz 2.0 cosplay at FlameCon.
Oh, it was
It
great.
ruled. It was so good. Someone let Hazel know that I said these words, even though I told them to their face.
It's always
it was
nice
so
to
good.
hear it,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
you know, now it lives on in perpetuity on the internet that I loved it.
That's true.
But yeah, you know, like, as much as Garnet and Pearl are guiding Steven and caring for Steven and taking on a certain guardianship of Steven, it's not in the same way that Greg cares for Steven, you know?
Right.
So I just, like, not only do I love Steg as, like, this handsome ab man with multiple arms and guitars, I love Steg as a validation of that very grounded kind of love. And I love so much that this grounded, real, earthly love flies in the sky. I love that so much. I love the just the entire aesthetic of that entire scene. Just like that like Steg can just float. And I love that.
Also, even the setup to that scene was just so wonderful. The moment with where they're like, oh, we have to evacuate the city. We have to evacuate everybody to the concert venue. Oh, it's Sandy? Oh, great.
Oh, are you refugee or ticket holder?
Yeah, that's what it was. Refugee
evacuee
or
or ticket holder, not refugee.
Yeah.
Evacuee or ticket holder. So good. Oh, Nana Hua.
She is such an inspirational character as far as, like, she is an immigrant, she is a business owner, she is a woman of color, and she is a politician who is, like, running this town.
Yeah.
She is such an inspirational side character, and, like, I want Beach City the show.
Yeah.
And
I
her
would watch
age is
that.
never played for a gag either. Like,
No.
the fact that she's older doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
other than people turn to her for her wisdom, but, like, she's never too old for anything. Like, that never even comes up.
Yeah, if anything, her wisdom is lauded by her grandchildren, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nana you're so funny. I love, I never want this show to end.
Right.
Ever. I want it to go on until I leave this mortal coil.
Until I shuffle off.
Until I just shuffle off away to the stars.
So as a music nerd, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask for your favorite songs from the movie. I know it's hard to pick. I know there are a lot of really great ones. There's such a variety of different things that are here. I have friends who had definitive favorites towards the end. For me, I mean, there are so many great ones, but it's hard to not pick, for me anyway, Spinell's song, Drift Away.
Ooh, yeah.
Because not only is the whole movie leading up to that moment, obviously, like, this whole movie, as I had kind of assumed, is, oh shit, what did Pink Diamond do now? Like, right? Like, that's what it's got to be, right? Like, that's what the whole series has led up to. That's what a lot of the biggest moments have been about, is, you know, what other damage has Pink Diamond done before they changed.
Yeah.
And but also watching that scene, the way that scene is filmed, and just getting to see Sarah Stiles kind of shine as this character who up until that point had been aggressive and then mostly a joke, full of one-liners. Like, this is when you realize there's so much more depth to the character.
Yeah.
And then you get to understand why she was the way she was and why she also goes back to the way she was until the resolution.
There was a little in the one shot of her where she's standing and the stars start to spin behind her.
Yeah.
On the in the very front of the frame on that shot, there are little forget-me-nots all along the bottom of the frame, and it's heartbreaking because
So
she was
sad.
forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to take a moment and speak in defense of Pink Diamond / Rose Quartz. just because the more we get to know her and her backstory and her life as Pink Diamond, I think that the things that she does, while very, very cruel in their own way, are also the actions of someone who doesn't know any better. And I
Sure.
feel so sad every time I think about this like loss of legacy for Rose Quartz because of this new information, and I really empathize, and I feel badly because there's no way that she can speak up and atone and apologize. And while it is very, very sad that Steven has to bear the brunt of this legacy because he inherited her gem, I think it's so sad that Rose gets opposite redeemed a lot. And
Yeah.
And this is something that makes me sad about this movie is we kind of get to keep piling on sins on Pink Diamond / Rose Quartz, when I felt that we really got to an interesting point with the end of Change Your Mind, seeing this through the lens of an abused child.
Sure.
You know, like this understanding of, yes, Pink made choices. Yes, Pink lied, but Pink had no other better role models. And I'm a little forlorn that white and blue and yellow get this beautiful redemption and they get to sing in harmony to how much they love Steven, but then we continue to pile on Rose Quartz, especially through the lens of Pearl's story, you know. And while I am so very glad that Pearl has become this self-actualized gem in a whole new way, not just in a I'm a rebel sworn to the service of my liege lord, as it were, but like a creature fully realized and fully independent. And we really got to see that moment in Change Your Mind when she's sword fighting in the mind ether of like, I do it for her, I do it for him. And then Steven jumps through and goes, don't forget about you. And then she goes, I do it for me. You know, I will say, I think that's one thing that I wish we could have like moved past in the opening sequence.
So that actually leads me to makes me think of what my kind of issue with the movie was, which was the way that Spinell's storyline was resolved.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was some Diamond Ex Machina.
That was some Diamond Ex Machina, but it was also very Broadway musical because
it was a wonderful little
it was the bag of money that was there the whole time.
Exactly.
We won the talent show.
It was Chekhov's Steven.
Chekhov's Diamond.
But that really neglects to address the fact that like sometimes there are people who are not connected with reality that you can't save.
Yeah.
And it is the magical story of Steven that he can empathize away all the world's ills. And that is the hero we need today. Like, amen that he exists. But there is a limit to empathy. Yeah. And Spinell is that limit. She is violent. She's not aware of boundaries. She is like, she's not connected to reality. Yeah. And you can't understand that away. That's always going to be there. And there was the moment with Steven where Steven kind of sings Spinell back, and the line where he's like, you'll love again, and she starts singing with him. And it's clear in that moment that she's like, I will love again. I've already found someone. And she's talking about Steven, but Steven isn't reciprocating those feelings. And if the Diamonds hadn't shown up when they did and taken her away, what would have happened? Yeah,
what would the story have been of that? And
that was my like. It felt like a missed opportunity.
I really do wish that. And I will say, I said it before, I'll say it again. This is a program for children, and this might get a little too dark in a movie for children. But there's that very powerful moment in the final anime battle, which is glorious in all of its anime glory.
Oh, and Connie sliding in
and slicing a car in half.
Yes.
But the moment Spinel says the line, "There are some things you can't fix with a stupid song," and I really know it's so dark, and I know that Steven needs to be right, that yes, you can fix things through just like understanding and empathizing enough, because it's an important message to give to children. But if this were a movie made for an adult audience, I really would have loved to have seen that hold true. And what do you do when someone is past the point of understanding? And I really think it would have been a really great moment, especially because we've just come off Change Your Mind, where Steven sort of realizes that not everybody has to love and respect who he is, to have him learn the lesson of sometimes you just can't fix something. Sometimes it is too toxic for you to take on, and you have to let go. And while I think they got to that idea of letting go through Spinel, that she does let go of her love of Pink Diamond, and then very shortly her love of Steven, her like need for them, it kind of undercuts that with the diamonds are there to save the day.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a perfect avatar for the daughter we lost. This is so weird. Yeah. It's a little sinister.
There was also, jumping way back in the conversation, my favorite song was probably Spinel's intro song.
Yes.
It was very Caravan Palace. I loved it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But there's a line right at the top of the song that when she first said it, I was like, oh, that's kind of a corny line, but whatever. And then and then as I watched the rest of the movie, I was like, oh, it's literal. She says, I'm the loser of the game you didn't know you were playing.
Yeah.
And then when you watch the Drift Away song, you're like, oh no, it's totally literal. She thought she was playing a game, and she just got left.
Yeah, for sure. I also really like that they bring up that motif again in the song True Kind of Love. Mm. You know, like I don't remember the line, but it is something that is, I am better than fear, shame, looking for someone to blame. Like, it's a game, you know, like, but it's a true kind of love. Like, we've transcended the game now through that song. I also will agree. I think Other Friends was the best bop of the whole piece. And also, like, I love a good villain song.
Oh, yeah. Like, they're always the best songs in the movie.
The best songs are the villain songs. Like that and the reboot Pearl song, just because that's also
Independent Together.
Independent Together is amazing.
Yeah.
But I would say Other Friends was the one that was stuck in my head for a long time after the movie. Like, that one I would wake up and it would be like, over and over again. Gee, it's well to finally meet her other friends. And it's like got that, and it's got that like old world aesthetic.
And it worked so well with her animation style as well. It was, and they did such a great job of, and techno swing as a genre kind of does this a lot, where they're like, here's swing, and now it's slightly wrong.
Yeah.
And that worked so well with the aesthetic of Spinel. Here's this bouncy, you know, typical cartoon, except she's slightly wrong.
It's very dark. It's so good. Yeah. Other Friends is takes the cake.
Oh yeah. Also the harmonies of the Three Diamonds. I mean, just those voices in a room
Let Us
together.
Love You or whatever.
Good Lord.
Yeah. I mean,
I
the fact that you have
goosebumps.
The fact that you have Patti LuPone as one of the diamonds, and then
because of that, you got Christine Ebersol, because they were doing war paint together at the time.
Like, it's just,
I cannot believe it.
I will say, not that she doesn't sound awesome in these songs, but like, you can definitely, Patty is the one that you're like, not quite blending.
Oh, for sure.
But it's so beautiful. Who cares?
Yeah. I'm not mad.
No.
Yeah.
I did see War Paint, not to derail our conversation. And I gotta say, what a weird show. What a weird show. And I'm really glad that I have this like moment of vindication actually seeing Christine Ebersole and Patti LuPone interact with one another, because in Warpaint they do not. It's such a bizarre show. The entire thing is from the point of view of two makeup titans in like pre-World War II. You had Elizabeth Arden and Helena Rubinstein. And so they had different aesthetics with how they did their product. It's based on the biography Warpaint, which talks about both of them. But they were notorious, Rubinstein and Arden, for not being in the same room with each other. Like, it was very much like they were professional rivals. So you have this entire show that's based on the lives of these two characters that are never in the room together, that have mirror image stories, and then all of a sudden you have Patti and Christine Ebersole not looking at each other singing the same song. It's nuts. It's a weird show. I'm glad I saw it, but it was a weird show.
Also, that makes me so sad that these two women were in like a similar industry, having like similar stories, and were unable, because of, you know, capitalist bullshit and misogyny, unable to like come together and share their experiences. Yeah. That is some bullshit.
There's a really great line. I think it was Helena Rubinstein who said it. If the two of us had, like, with my science, because she was very, like, science in the way she did her beauty products, and Elizabeth Arden was very much, like, about the experience. Like, the Red Door was a salon that I was going to just at the start of this year. Friend of the podcast, BB Hart, used to work there. Now it is Mind. It is divested from the Arden brand. But, like, the idea of the experience, it is every woman's right to be beautiful, like that whole like almost philosophy of beauty, meaning that science of beauty. Helena Rubinstein said, if we could just get it together, my science and her philosophy, we could have taken over the world. Like, even she like had a certain level of like rueful understanding about this. But anyway, that's a Broadway show, and we're not talking about Broadway, and I'm the only one who saw it. But I love so much that like Patti LuPone took the part of Yellow Diamond because her son? She have a son? Her child, whatever.
I think it is her son.
Yeah, was familiar with this property and said, oh, Mom, you gotta take this part. You gotta.
Yeah.
And then she was doing Warpaint. And pretty much Patti LuPone told Rebecca Sugar that she should make Christine Ebersole White Diamond. So that's how that happened. And also Patti LuPone said, "Oh, you should write us a song." I love Patti LuPone so much.
It's really great. And what's really funny about those two actresses, if you're familiar with any of their work, is that them as people, like an extreme exaggeration of characters they've played in the past, absolutely shine through the diamonds that they're playing.
Yes.
No pun intended.
Yes. Oh, it's so good.
Oh my gosh, the moment when at the very end, when Spinell and the Diamonds meet for the first time, and Spinell's like, "Oh, it was fine. I was just waiting 6,000 years," and Yellow Diamond just starts laughing. She's like, "Huh, that isn't very long."
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong?
I love that Yellow Diamond, just in her entirety, even just like the little bits we got to see her as sort of like this scary force. Like, Patti LuPone is just doing such good work with this, and those moments when she's just like, "Oh, you're so funny, Pink, so fun." It's like, I can't. So out of touch. Cheese. It's perfect casting. Literally perfect casting. I could not have cast Yellow Diamond better.
No, definitely not.
Well, I mean, at this point, she is Patti. You know, like, and she's so integrated with Patti LuPone in my head that like feels wrong to think of anyone else doing it.
Before we wrap up on this episode, I feel like we should make sure that we talk about like any final thoughts we have on this movie. I think it's easy to say that for the three of us, it was an event. Like, we had watched the show and we were excited to see it. I watched the show mostly in seclusion. I discovered it because friends were talking about it and watched it on my own. My partner at the time didn't have a ton of interest in watching it. And then once the buzz really started to go haywire, I'd seen it all and she still hasn't. And I think at some point I'll probably just do a rewatch and have her sit with me because she does really want to see it. She just, there's a bajillion things to watch. We talk about that on the show all the time. And like making time for anything that you're not seems like a chore just because there's so many other things. But I have to say that now that I'm caught up and I had finally watched something in the fandom with other people, like that's the experience of this show. I think my final thoughts about the movie is try not to watch this by yourself. If you have any other friends, if you've seen the series and haven't seen the movie and for some reason still haven't seen it at this point and have been listening, God bless you. But like definitely.
But why are you here?
Right.
Why aren't you watching this already?
Yeah, Hulu, YouTube,
have
there
we
are
not
ways.
taken you to church enough on this?
But seriously, go watch it with someone else. Like share this experience. It's great on its own, but like after watching Change Your Mind, like the first thing I did was text both Anya Keister and Hazel Tart, who knew I had been on this adventure trying to watch the final season, and just like lost my mind at them as I quietly cried to myself in front of my computer.
Yeah.
Like
Open weeping.
I will utterly and completely endorse your sentiment, Matt Storm, because I honestly, like, if you asked me why I started watching Steven Universe, I don't think I could tell you, because I don't really think anybody told me to watch it. I think I came upon it because I was watching Adventure Time, and Rebecca Sugar had written a lot of really good music for Adventure Time, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is also 10 minutes. I could dedicate some time to it. But for me, Steven Universe is so important to me now is because it is a thing that I share with those I love.
Yeah, and our little started as a Dungeons and Dragons crew, but has become a very urban family in a wonderful way.
Yeah.
I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, we all went out drinking one night and then crashed in our one friend's apartment, and we spent the entire next day, all of us hung over on the floor just watching Steven Universe for like 10 hours. Like it was the best day ever. Like it was great.
It ruled. It's why we still have adult slumber parties now.
We do, and
that was
they're
our first
fun.
one.
That was our first one, and it was totally unintentional. It was because we were all too drunk to go home.
Yeah. We just had to crash boys' night though.
We had to. That's right. I forgot it was
because we were doing. Okay, this is gonna be a real quick story, and then we'll get the hell out of here and let you back into your lives, listeners. We had done this thing where we did boys' night, girls' night, and at a certain point, the girls, which was Liz, Bevin, me, and Liz's dog Euler, who was a boy but was repping Team Girl that night.
We put him in a little pink lacy bralette to really steer into the gendered.
A little bra, it was fine. But we knew that if we were doing this boys' night, girls' night, one of us had to crash the other party. So we went, we're going to be the ones to do this. So we crashed boys' night, and that's when Austin, while they were playing Dungeons and Dragons, said, let's build a tent. And so we turned the living room into a tent. Like, we tucked all this spare fabric into the ceilings, draped it all around the walls.
Big blow-up mattress on the floor.
Yeah, big blow-up mattress on the floor. So we made a tent, and we stayed in the tent, and we watched Steven Universe all day. And we had together breakfast.
Yeah, we did. We had together breakfast and mimosas and Bloody Marys. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. So get some friends, watch Steven Universe, bond over it, become a family. There you go.
Yep.
That's my guide to success right there.
There you go. I will also say as one of the two avid gamers on this podcast, just because I don't know if Bevin is, but I know Rachel is. Mm-hmm. I have the Steven Universe Save the Light game, which I have not finished, but is on the Switch. If you are a fan of Steven Universe and you like turn-based RPGs, I highly recommend it. It is not revolutionary in the world of gaming, but it's completely voiced by the entire voice cast of Steven Universe.
True. And Christine Baranski voices the villain.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And that's very good.
And it's just a delightful game that's cutesy animation, lots of fun, tons of meta, like Steven breaking the fourth wall about video game tropes. Like,
yeah, it's
definitely worthwhile to check out, and has no connection to the canon of Steven Universe other than like it exists in the world. But like, if you know the basic premise of Steven Universe, has watched maybe half of the first season, you can play this game. Like, you
Yes.
don't need to have even seen all of Steven Universe. You definitely don't have to have seen the movie. And it's just a delight.
Also,
I absolutely love it.
That plus double on the comic issues.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the Steven Universe comic also loose cannon has happened, not enough to be referenced in the show or in the movie or wherever. But if you really want to know how much they are advocates of the LGBTQ plus community, in an issue of Steven Universe the comic, they do attend Beach City Pride.
Nice.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. It rules. It's so good. And also, like, it's drawn by different artists, so it's all kind of like pastel-y, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And all of them are wearing, like, colorful, like, accoutrement. I love it. It's so good. It's so good. Read it, watch it, play it. Get all that Steven Universe into your body.
Yeah.
However you can.
Yeah.
Eat it if you have to.
One of my my sisters recently had a baby, and I was just like, hey, you should watch Steven Universe.
Yeah.
Like, she's now raising my nephew, beautiful young Ivor Wolf. And it was like, hey, young boys should really see Steven Universe.
Yes.
If we're looking for male role models to help fight toxic masculinity, Steven Universe is a perfect avatar for that, because he is young, he is powerful, he is optimistic, and he is empathetic. And I think that is an incredibly important position to have today, for sure, to see a boy who doesn't punch his problems away, a boy who talks his problems out.
And even larger than that, I mean, all of the most powerful people in Steven's life are women.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he has no problem not only working side by side with, but taking cues from and following the lead of powerful and intelligent women around him. And that's really great.
Yeah.
It's the show I want the future to be.
Yeah, same.
For sure.
I
Very
wanna-
gay, very colorful, very empathetic.
I want to be friends with Garnet and just hang out all the time and, like, just do cool shit. Like, I want beings like
Play with her one-eyed cat.
right, exactly. This has been a lot of fun. Bevan, thank you for coming back on the show and
you.
chatting.
Thank you so
Steven
much for
Universe.
having me. I was so happy to get to talk about more Steven.
Yeah. And thank you to John Presnell for the use of our song Aurora off the album Fair Game, featuring Stefan Remble.
I would like to, of course, thank Katie Bugg, who did our incredible logo design. Thank you, Katie. We look fabulous.
Yes. Also, we are a part of a Certain Point of View podcast network. If you like what we're doing here, you're going to love what Certain POV is doing. They got actual play podcasts. They got Superman. They got the Superman, another very good avatar for positive masculinity in this world. So go check out Men of Steel. That's my recommend for today.
You can find everything about Certain POV at certainpov.com. We have a Discord server where you can chat with us, mostly me because Rachel's barely on.
I'm busy.
It's fine. Also, I want to take an opportunity to plug something I've been working on outside of Certain POV, and I would love Rachel to plug her other podcast as well, which we don't do often on this show. But I have been streaming more regularly on twitch.tv/DJ_Stormageddon. I've been streaming games. My friend Lute Alfred Douglas drew my D&D character live on my stream weeks back.
Cool.
And I very recently became an affiliate, so you can subscribe to my channel. I get a couple bucks from that, which is great. You get access to custom emotes.
Hell yeah.
But it's been a lot of fun to do. Gaming has always been communal to me, and when I play a lot of single player games, I do feel this kind of emptiness a little bit, like, how long can I play? Should I be playing? But when I stream, I feel, because even if it's only one or two people in the chat, I feel like it's a community experience, even if I'm playing something by myself. And so it's kind of revitalized how I play games. So if you just want to hang out with me and have some fun, have a kind chat, make fun of me for being bad at games, which is often a lot of fun as well, please go check out my Twitch channel, again, twitch.tv/DJ_Stormageddon.
Very cool. And if you like the sound of my garbage mouth sounds, I have a second podcast called The Infinity Podcast. It is a a breakdown of pop culture, emphasis on the breakdown, through the lens of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We are currently on a bit of hiatus from the MCU, as there's not many MCU movies coming along the way, but if you are interested in a comics run, we are currently reading the Hickman run of House of X and Powers of 10. We talk a little bit about that. We also talk a lot about pop music and Jeremy Renner's failed app. So join us. It's The Infinity Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at The Infinity Pod 1 and on Instagram at The Infinity Pod. So hang out, I guess, or don't. Whatever. Like I'm not your Greg Universe. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
That's true.
Anyway, Bevin, do you have any particular plugs?
Come see Blue Man Group in New York at the Astor Theater. I've recently started working wardrobe there, and it's a wonderful show and community. And yeah, Blue Man Group is great. Come
Aliens.
See.
Hey,
yeah,
you work with aliens.
I do. I work with Well, I can't talk to you about like where the Blue Men come from.
That's
like
okay.
I actually like
it's okay.
I signed
a
thing.
They gotta keep it a secret.
Yeah, it's like a whole thing. But like
that's fine.
It's a fun show and everybody should come see it.
Yeah.
If you're in New York.
Yeah, I should definitely do that. I've still yet to see it, and I've lived in New York a long time.
Yeah, and they're not just in New York. I shouldn't say just New York because I believe there are also shows in Orlando and Boston and
I've seen
other
it twice
places.
in Chicago.
Oh, and also Chicago.
Nice. Thank you again, Bevin, for being on the show.
Thank you,
This has
Bevin.
been a blast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I adore you. I wish we got to hang out in Meat Space more. Maybe Rachel can help correct that. I adore your partner as well, even though they're not here. But, you know,
He's here in spirit.
They were a delight when they were on the podcast as well.
Thank you, Matt Storm, for being my constant companion and co-host on this floating ship.
Thank you, Rachel Quirky Shank, for being the rock in any hard place that I need you to be. Actually, to wrap up, since we don't have to ask Bevin about a trope they would pick as they've done before. Instead, I'm going to ask Bevin to decide if Rachel and I were to fuse out of friendship, what would our fusion name be?
Ooh. Quirkstorm.
Ooh.
Something like that.
Quirkstorm. I like it.
Quirkstorm. I like Quirkstorm.
Quirkstorm's great. I love that.
That was my first instinct, and I'm gonna stay with it.
Our hair would be amazing.
Our hair would be so good.
Our hair would give Steg a run for his money.
Right.
Yeah.
So as always, thanks for listening, everybody, and we will see you on a couch somewhere. There's more to that wrap up, but I've already screwed it up, so we might as well just say bye.
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 Okay, bye.